Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry I couldn't make it, and I couldn't make the tech work. I'm Professor Joe McDonald. I'm Medical Director for a company called Parsec, and I'm going to stick this on YouTube by way of an apology, and you can see what the gist of it was that I was going to say. There's a reference on the bottom of this slide, which is actually from a paper I wrote with Lou Wilson and Professor Morgan Anastat, and that's largely what I'm going to talk about, the lessons I learned over the last 15 years. I've been an NHS doctor for nearly 40 years. I've been a trust medical director. I'm a consultant psychiatrist by background. I've been a CCIO for 10 years. I was one of the founding members and chair of the CCIO network. I was national clinical lead for IT, brackets mental health, and I founded with others the Great North Care Record. And as I said, currently medical director at Parsec, Sleep Station, and SARD JV. So one of the key lessons that I learned was that a project could be too big. The national programme was just way too big, ill-conceived, led by Tony Blair after a conversation with Bill Gates about the electronification of the NHS, and it was simply too big. And yes, we actually had too much money. What would you do for £12.7 billion? Well, a lot of people would do absolutely anything, and that middle-aged jolly psychiatrists became sexually irresistible to software sales staff, and truth was an early casualty. I had some success as national clinical lead for IT. We largely got mental health onto electronic patient records, which were temporary, as we waited for solutions like Lorenzo to turn up, and because of that I got made medical director of the Lorenzo delivery team, which cost billions and ended up delivering nothing. In fact, it was retired last year with the NHS not even owning any intellectual property. I pointed out at the time that we were wasting our money and got sacked for my career-limiting frankness. But that didn't stop the programme going on for another 4 years. So I figured that project was just too big. Now, what's the just right size for a project? Well, it turns out a region can do something. And my region, I was invited to a meeting in this pub, the Earl of Pitt Street, by a man who said he had some money to do a regional project. And I thought, well, maybe that's doable. National wasn't, but maybe we could do something as a region. But like most ICSs, our installed base was a nightmare, evenly split in GP land between EMIS and TPP, and in secondary care we had one of everything. So what could we do? The problems we faced in joining everything up was the same as most ICSs have now. They have a mixed install base, and the other problem that we have is a constant organisational churn of the NHS, a bit like a lava lamp. You apply heat in the bottom in the form of political light bulb and the requirement for the minister to change things, and big blobs turn into little blobs, and then they revolve endlessly. So you're always dealing with organisations which are never quite fully formed. Faces are all the same over time, but the names on the door. I was fortunate enough to meet Morgan Anastat at around the time that we started the Great North Care Record, and we compared notes on the Goldilocks nature of the size of IT projects and the fact that the giant central architected solution never works. And she explained to me that actually building successful IT on a regional basis is about cultivation, not construction. It's more like gardening than architecture. And you have to get early buy-in from the clinicians or your project dies. One of the other key lessons was the fact that regional IT or ICS IT is a distributed problem. It's a bit like the bin in my kitchen. So 5 of us living in the house, all adults capable of emptying the bin. But it's nobody's job to empty the bin. We don't have a bin emptying rota. So this is what you get. You get the fact that because it's everybody's job, nobody does it, and you have to solve that at an ICS level. So as a region, we got a little money to do a regional integration project called the Great North Care Record, and we wanted to start with something simple to see if we could do one thing as a region. I call this a one thing test. So we decided to do a simple existing software that would allow secondary care to have a look at the GP record, and that would be our first phase, if you like, our first seed in the ground. Could we pass the one thing test and do one thing together? And it turned out we could. We put in the information sharing gateway. People loved it. These people loved it. We call this the wall of love. This is how we did stakeholder engagement. So down the side, the yellow post-its, that's NHS trusts. Along the top are key roles, the CEO, medical director, CIO, CCIO. All those people have to love the project to make it go. You have to get everybody on board to solve your problem regionally or across an ICS. Now, this is a really important sociological concept. The sociologists talk about a collective action dilemma. This is when everybody has a similar problem, but they have slightly different solutions, but they need to adopt one solution. This will mean people taking a step back from firmly held positions. And in this slide, you can see people passionately arguing that their version of Cerner / Meditech / InterSystems is the way ahead for the region. And of course, they've put 10 years of their lives into these systems. They're not about to move off. So to solve that collective action dilemma, we have to take the middleware route. More sociology for you, but key to success at an ICS or regional level. Max Weber, the godfather of modern sociology, talks about different kinds of authority, and you will need all of these kinds of authority to succeed. Structural, I'm the boss, so I can call it. Financial, I'm paying for it, so I can make the decisions. Charismatic, I'm a great charismatic leader, so I can get everybody to come with me. Moral authority, I'm your priest, so I can tell you that it's the right thing to do. Legal authority, it's the law, you have to do it. The sapiential authority, sapiens is the Latin word for wisdom, and that's the special knowledge that people like doctors and nurses have, and you need to take them with you, and you need to have the authority to get them on board as well. So we solved our collective action dilemma. We instigated the Great North Care record. This slide, you probably can't see it, is actually a view of my mother's record when we went to A&E when she had a fall a few years ago. And all of her GP record information, hospital information was there to see in the Great North Care record. So we successfully integrated care for the region. When my mother got dementia in the last few years, I realised that actually just a view of your GP record and what happened at a hospital is not enough. That doesn't integrate care. Much of the care is delivered by people who aren't on the record system, haven't got an EPR. My mother's looked after by the Little Sisters of the Poor. They're not on Cerner, they're not Epic, they're not going to be, they're not on EMIS, but they still need to be at the meetings about my mother's care. So we've done a lot. Your shared care record and your electronic patient record are essential, but this is key. They are not enough to integrate care across an ICS. So as I see it, there is now a digital hierarchy of needs across the region. The other key lesson, which I got largely from Morgan, was the fact that you've got to succeed quickly. You don't have years. You need to deliver in a space that the clinicians find effective, or they will walk away. So if you've got a collective action dilemma around what to do as an ICS and how you might usefully join up multidisciplinary team working across a big patch with a disparate installed base, give me a shout.